is no doubt a pertinent one, but organizational sustainability cannot serve as the primary guiding principle in microfinance. Organizational sustainability cannot be disregarded altogether, yet it should not be achieved through burdening the poor or treating microfinance solely as a profit-making exercise. There is another way that not only ensures the survival of microfinance institutions, but is also crucial in growth, and this way is establishing of a system of mutual support. The support system where on the one side well-to-do donate, contribute, and on the other side the borrowers also become donors with the passage of time. Modern economic theory tells us that generosity of society is not a sustainable source of funds. It is evasive and unreliable. It also tells us that altruism and empathy are not sustainable motivations for an organization. These theories might hold true when undertaking a business venture which is measured by its commercial success, but microfinance, ladies and gentlemen, is neither a business enterprise nor should it aim at making profit. Creating a system based on mutual support ensures that the task of poverty alleviation extends beyond microfinance institutions or government agencies. It becomes the responsibility of the entire community. In fact, it is difficult to comprehend why men and women would easily believe in the invisible hand of market on principles of demand and supply, yet find it harder to accept that man himself is capable of giving or supporting his poor brethren. If one can understand that microfinance is not a venture, not a business venture, that the primary aim of microfinance remains poverty alleviation, then embracing the significance of the concept of system based on mutual support will not be difficult to understand. Mutual support entails that the poor helping each other as much as it requires the rich to embrace their responsibility of sharing their wealth. This system of mutual support draws strength from volunteerism, generosity, compassion, and above all, brotherhood. The example of Akhuwat, the organization I am representing, which has not only disbursed loans amounting to 1.3 billion rupees and totally interest-free, but it's also growing and being replicated in the country. This example stands before you. Akhuwat charges no interest, no service charges, yet the organization has sustained itself and is increasingly expanding. The organization draws inspiration from Islamic spirit of Muwakhat, the brotherhood. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Muwakhat in Medina, the lesson told by Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he linked one Ansar with one Muhajir, and the underlying objective was to create a bond of solidarity and love. And that bond was based on sacrifice and mutual support. This inspiration has been, converted into an organization, and the 4 principles the organization follows include: number 1, it provides totally interest-free loans. It works through the financial and social intermediation takes place at indigenous places like mosques and churches. The volunteerism is cardinal principle, and the ultimate objective is converting the borrowers into donors. The organization has been able to create a mutual support fund or a Qarz-e Hasana fund comprising of 300 million rupees, all donated from people who have money, who are well-to-do, and who want to establish a bond of solidarity with the poor. This credit money is then utilized to disperse small loans, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 to the poor, They start a business, they earn their livelihood, and ultimately they also become donors. And you will be amazed to know that the organization is having 99.8% recovery rate, even having disbursed 1.4 billion rupees. And the poor borrowers, they have been converted into donors, and they have contributed during last 1 year 14 million rupees as their contribution to the credit pool. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the real strength of society, and this is the real strength which we can envy. So in conclusion, I would like to say that today there is a growing global concern over the efficacy of microfinance movements. Thus it becomes pertinent to revisit the goals that microfinance set out to achieve. Microfinance remains an extremely viable instrument of poverty alleviation, yet we fear it cannot succeed in achieving its purpose without envisioning to create a system of mutual support. Ladies and gentlemen, before we attempt to evaluate the efficiency of poverty alleviation programs, their vision and purpose, we must reflect on our own vision of the poor, of the concept of social justice. If you isolate poverty reduction programs from brotherhood, kindness, and generosity, then the hope for a poverty-free society will never be realized. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you just gave the panel a huge opportunity for debate here, because I know that we have commercial venture versus philanthropic or non-commercial ventures. And I think that would make a very interesting debate, and I'm sure all of you would be interested in getting into this as well. Our next speaker is Mr. Misbah Birnie, who's the CFO of Tetra Pak. They've been doing certain interventions in the rural areas. And I believe he has a very interesting story to tell. Mr. Birnie.
Thank you, Aisha. Just building on, before I start telling you about what Tetra Pak is doing in these rural areas, I think two lessons that we learned when we started to work on CSR activities was, number one is that it will take several entry points towards, the process of poverty alleviation to get this thing done, because there is no silver bullet as such. So every and any initiative should be welcome, whether it is coming from commercial angle or whether it's coming from philanthropic. The other thing that we realized was, and here I'm going to defer, is basically that it has to make commercial sense, whatever initiative you launch. This has been our learning. Because hota ye hai ki, you don't have unlimited amount of money. And what you want is basically, you don't want a top-down support to this community. Rather, you want this community to be mobilized so that they create a system of self-sustainability and they start adding value and services for each other and for the community, and that brings in prosperity, basically, So these are the two learnings I had when I started to, get involved in these things. When it comes to the dairy sector, where Tetra Pak is working a lot, because, we are involved, we are in the packaging of liquid food products. So we have a lot of insights into what is happening in dairy in Pakistan. And I can tell you that you'd be horrified to know that even though we are the third largest milk producer in the world, we are a net importer of milk. And that is such a heartbreaking thing. The second thing you'll realize when you're working at that level is that for example, an average buffalo will produce 1,300 liters of milk in a year. Compared to that, in any developed country, the average is 9,000 liters. So you can see, how heartbreaking this is to look at. And our farmer is poorest of the poor, because if you look at the value chain, all the money is basically with the middleman. So, you have this situation, and when we looked at it, we thought we could really go in and, make a difference. And how would we make a difference? Well, there were two things that we could have done. Number one was to educate the farmer. And just as an example, what a big impact this education can have is that just by, for example, I'm going to go in a specific example, simply by letting the buffalo move freely, not putting it in a